It's cold again in Glasgow. So cold you could put on 50 jumpers and still need to warm yourself against the memories of summer. Anything but turning on the heating. It'll never be cold enough for that. I've been thinking of a better time, a warmer time, Sicily in September. So, dearest viewer, let's go to the Valley of the Temples together as I talk about my favourite read of this year, Against All Gods, by Miles the Man Cameron. Italy, sunny Italy, where the customer is seldom right and never brought what they ordered. When I wasn't sat reading the ingredients on my daily bottle of San Pellegrino, I could be found indulging in the favoured pastime of the Mediterranean holidaymaker, paying Italians large sums of money for nothing or to shout at me, and in some cases I'd get a 2-for-1 deal. Molto bene. I think I can make these jokes as I have Italian family in the north. I love Italy. It's probably my favourite country in the world after Scotland, of course, and Japan. In any case, when I die, I'll have all three written on my heart. Sunny Italy, it seemed, needed a holiday also. Watching this footage back, I'm reminded of how optimistic my outfit choice was. Short of an arc, I wasn't sure if we'd actually make the journey south from Palermo to Agrigento. Anyway, the book I'm reading was written by Miles Cameron, also known as Christian Gordon Cameron. This chap has been writing for as long as I've been alive, and his list of works reflects this. I met him at Worldcon after a panel he was on. He was a good laugh while speaking seriously about the craft of writing. I bought a signed copy of his latest book, Breaking Hell, without having read the first two in the series. Maybe that just makes me an idiot, but sometimes meeting the artist drives you to meet the art. And here we are, reading the first in that series, Against All Gods. I think I'd best summarise this story as follows. If books could mate and produce offspring, Against All Gods would be the favourite child of Best Served Cold and the Iliad. What a childhood that would be. So I loved so many things about this book, starting with the characters, as one always should. They were amazing. Any writer trying to pull off multiple POVs knows it's an uphill battle, but Cameron clearly knows how to fight on such terrain. Speaking of, he has a great YouTube channel where he teaches the world to write a decent fight.
The final, probably most important thing for a hoplite was to be wary of getting your spear caught in an opponent's shield.
I love it. Each of the first few chapters are isolated and remain so for quite a few pages before the characters converge. I know this can be off-putting to some that I lap this up. That is of course made easier by each character inhabiting such a memorable world, making it easier to tie it all together early on. Speaking of inhabitants, from the god kings to god-born warriors, dry ones, jackers, nomads, furies, this world is rich with them. But more importantly, it's more real for these characters. My favourite was probably Zos, a god-born sellsword, your classic used-up man of violence who just isn't quite dead yet, and not for a lack of trying. There are so many aspects of Cameron's writing which felt fun, and something that pushes one to stay up a wee bit later than they should to get to the end of that chapter. The uncommon structure, layered suspense, and rich payoffs all hit hard. I really did have a great time here, have you noticed? My favourite aspect of this story is its structure, which I've mentioned is uncommon. Fans of the video game Ghost of Tsushima, where each plot arc ends with a little scene showing what the big bad is up to, will love this. If I may add also, this book has an absolutely bonkers first chapter. Crazy. Each of the first few chapters are character introductions. We're talking settings, stakes, the lot. I love the relationship between the gods and men. You know, usually in fantasy a character would say, "We've upset the gods," or something similar, and it was a vague comment on poor circumstance. Whereas here, in Cameron's world, when someone says the gods are pissed, it is because the gods are definitely very pissed. Really, some of these gods, I couldn't help thinking, they reminded me of the kind of crazies you'd meet near the end of a night out in the smoking area. Smoking area final boss. That's the kind of gods you can expect here. One final note on the book. I'm not sure if this is because I love Mediterranean style maps where the ends of the earth are the land rather than the sea, but I checked the map in this book so much more often than usual. Maybe because the travel here felt legitimate, or maybe because the different cities and cultures, they felt so familiar whilst keeping the intrigue intact. I hadn't checked the map in a fantasy book this much since reading Game of Thrones. can't finish a video without mentioning that series, can I? When we visited the Valley of the Temples here, there was an absolute barrage of thunder and lightning, but sadly none of it was caught on camera, and not for a lack of trying. Almost ruined the day, maybe the holiday, standing around waiting for lightning, which really does sum up a lot of my life. I spent a lot of time online reading about the best the fantasy genre has to offer, and the usual names come up: Martin, Abercrombie, Hobbes, Sanderson, and so on. But I hadn't heard much about Cameron, though I knew of him. He was both prolific and respected. I've come to believe that he might be known in a different way to those that I'd mentioned. Ask anyone who their favourite filmmaker is, and they'll usually say Tarantino, Scorsese, and so on. Maybe. But you ask the real nerds, the real no-lifers, and they might mention Kurosawa or Tarkovsky, the filmmaker's filmmaker. I believe Cameron is one such. He's the fantasy writer's fantasy writer. In short, I think he's the man. Maybe he's been the man forever, and I'm just clueless and badly read. Not for me to say. So, final thoughts. This book is definitely worth picking up. Give the first chapter a whirl, and try putting it down. Not easy. I'm on a bit of a journey with writing myself, and books like this, they hit that deliciously delicate line between entertainment and education. This book is one of finding new heroes, and in Cameron, I think I've found one myself.